Woke and Ready TV, like this video, subscribe to this channel. Listen, we know that the youth is crazy right now. We know that the drill music, is out of control right now. But what we have to stop doing, we have to stop blaming the parents for the youth. And I'm going to tell you why. It's like the easy way out. It's the easy way to go. Point the finger at the parents. You wasn't doing your job. You failed as a parent. You wasn't doing this. You. In many cases, I could say I agree. But let's be fair. All the way fair. We can always say that a person shouldn't have sex until marriage. They shouldn't have kids out of wedlock to begin with. All right, fine and dandy. But we have to deal with the reality. The reality is that ain't really happening no more. Nobody's not waiting for marriage to have sex. People are still having babies, and these babies are being born. Now, when raising kids under these conditions, the chances are your kid might just end up going to the streets, just might end up doing some crazy shit, or they might end up dead at a young age. And that's a fact. But when you look at the reality of the situation, there's a lot of kids that do fucked up shit that come from good households. There's a lot of kids that does great things in life that come from terrible households. There's some kids that do fucked up shit that come from fucked up households. And there's some kids that do good shit coming from fucked up households. It's like, it's no way to really trigger down the problem so that you can always blame the parent. You know what I mean? Because there's no instruction manual that comes with raising these kids today. And I would think the safest thing to say for the reason the youth is the way that the youth is today, especially here in America. One, too much freedom. Too much freedom for everyone. In society, we keep telling everybody that this is the land of free. You can do what you want to do. And we don't never really tell people about the consequences of their actions. You know what I mean? That's from like the beginning of time being in this country. You have society, you know what I mean? Once your kid leaves out those doors, no matter what you taught your kid, you know what I mean? You can be raising your kid the right way inside your home. But let's say you can't afford to send your child to a private school. You got to send your child to a public school. So now your kids are mingling with kids that might come from bad situations where their parents don't care about them as much as you care about your kid. So they got to be brought up amongst the same kids that parents don't really give a fuck about. You know what I mean? Because it is safe to say that it is our job as parents to raise these kids and show them unconditional love. But in reality it's a lot of parents that just don't know how to love. Some of them have kids and they're growing up with their kids. Instead of parenting, they're raising their kids to be their friends. You know what I mean? I think that's a big problem. We always hear a lot of parents say, I want my child to have the best. I want my child to have everything that I didn't have. But is that a good idea? Because when you start thinking like this, if you made it this far by not having all the things that you never had or you thought you should have had, and you made it to be 40 years old and you have a home and you have, a car, a job, maybe you should continue the cycle of how your parents raised you. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people resent their parents for whatever reason. Like people's in their late 30s and 40s and even 50s. A lot of people feel some type of way about their parents, and their parents did the best that they can do, and you're still here. So why is it fair for your child to be dying at the age of 15 to 16, all because you feel like that the child should have more than what you should have? See, now when that happens, right? When a person feel like, I want the best for my child, especially single. I'm talking to single mothers right now on this part. I want my child to have the best, the things that I never had. So now you're a single mother. You got this mindset. Let's say you only raising one boy, one son. You know what I mean? You keep him fly, keep him in all the latest gear and all that from the time he was 2 or 3 years old. So now you start getting buying them video games at the age of 4 or 5. So now he's already hip to this technology. Ooh, playing video games. You're so busy because you got to deal with work, and you probably busting your ass so you can maintain your position. You're trying to move up in your career. Maybe you go back to school. You're doing all this. You hardly have any time for your child, because you send your child to school. You're working. You come home. You get them. You might come on. Let's say you come home at 7 o'clock. You go get them from wherever they are after they've been out of school. You've got like 2 hours with your child. It's sleep, and then back to the same schedule. This is all the time. You barely have any time with your child. So now what it is everyone around your child is raising your child. You know what I mean? Whether it's a good environment or bad environment, your child is seeing a lot. Your child is knowing more than what you think they're knowing. You know what I'm saying? So you continue this cycle all the way up until the child is like 14, 15. You're never around. You're never home. You feel like you deserve a party and stuff like that on the weekends because you work so hard. And yeah, you do deserve to have a good time every now and then because you work so hard. But your child have everything. He been playing these video games since he was 40 years old, 5 years old. And that's what I want to get to. They've been playing games like Halo, games like Fortnite, games like Grand Theft Auto since they were 4 years old. You know? Even if you didn't monitor, even if you was monitored to them, at some point they played these games, and these games are kids could get on the game and play for hours. They'll end them, get bored with that, they'll go to another shooting game. Now your child is becoming a trained assassin, all off of technology. You don't even know this. Your child don't even know this, but it's something in that child's head, in his mind, that one day I want to know what it feel like to do this. They might not act on it immediately, but it's in them because this video game has been programming them. So now they on social media. They see the people with all the followers, all the drill rappers and stuff like that. Now they want to mimic that life, and the only thing they talking about is drilling and killing it. You don't know who they're following from the phone that you purchased, because you never had a phone when you were younger. You never had a video game when you were younger. You got them this device, this technology. And they're learning. So what I'm saying is, it's the technology. A lot of it could be used as good. A lot of it could be used as bad. And that's with everything. You know what I mean? But the parents are unaware until they get that phone call. Your child is locked up. Your child is dead. They start observing who their kids were hanging with. All these kids are pretty much the same these days, yo. All of them. And it's all because of technology. So, if y'all want this shit to stop, I would say for the newer generation, I wouldn't say just, stop all the fun out of your kid's life and stuff like that. But I think if everyone followed this, what I'm about to say, I guarantee you the crime rate would drop for the future. Don't buy them any Xbox or PlayStations until they're like maybe 8, 9, or 10 years old. And when they do get those games, try to get educational games or sports games, you know, and stay on them. Check and see if their friends let them borrow any games. But now you can purchase the game on, online. But, you should be able to monitor that. They shouldn't have no money. They could just, purchase things without you knowing. Cell phones. Don't get them a phone like this, a smartphone. Don't buy them any smartphones until they're 16, 17 years old, because that's a privilege. What if they need to get in contact with me? They still have flip phones when you could just need to call someone or text someone that's really important. They have no access with the internet. Those type of phones. I promise I won't get my daughters any type of smartphones until they're 16 to 18 years old. That's when you'll get your first smartphone from me, And not even like with the computers and stuff. Like, if you get computers, make sure they're only using them computers for their work. That's it. For like schoolwork and stuff like that, that's it. That's all they need it for. We even need to monitor things like Google, because you don't know what your child is Googling. You know what I'm saying? And another thing is, like I'm putting the blame on technology, but it also triggers down to, these politicians and the things that they've been taking away from us. Like, they took away a lot of libraries. With technology, you don't even need to go to the library no more. You Google everything. These kids have too much access to too much information, and we wonder why they're behaving as adults. They have a whole computer in their pocket with these smartphones. No. Something wrong with that. They got too much access to too much. You know what I mean? So, with that said, they shut down a lot of libraries. Kids don't even read books anymore. Trading programs in these schools now. I agree with Dr. Umar so much, because I said this a long time ago. I believe a trade for men, young black men, whatever your color is, a trade is just as good or better than a college degree. Because if someone have a trade in electrical, auto mechanic, plumbing, welding, things of that nature, that person will always make money and be able to feed their families. Always. And these trades are the education. Well, it only takes like 18 months or 2 years to get you a trade. You know what I mean? Let's start putting these programs back into the high school so these kids can have a trade and have a lifelong skill. They can always feed their families, always make money. And this should, to me personally, I think these programs should be in like junior high, from time a child is like in the 6th grade all the way to the 8th, and then extend the education during high school. If we have programs like this in public schools, these kids will have a better future. Now, if they decide they want to go to college because they don't want to do that, at least they will always have a skill. At least they will always have the skill. Those 4 trades that I just named are so important because we're builders by nature. But if you don't have the skills to build anything or fix anything, what good are you? Someone is always calling for an electrician. Someone always calling for a plumber. They always need a welder, someone to fix your car, a painter, just person that paint, landscaping, anything. Like, all these trades should be home ec, even home ec. When people, they took that out of school for the young ladies that just want to be, it'll help them become better cooks and develop them, develop their skills. So when they do become somebody's wife, they know how to cook or they had a head start. We have to not ignore all of that shit. You know what I mean? And this might be one of my longest videos because I'm speaking from the heart, and this is about the youth. So I do believe, to an extent, we have to stop blaming the parents. We got to start looking more deeper into what they did, like, you know what I mean, as far as towards black people. You know what I mean? From the beginning of time, it's ridiculous. Like, it's easy to say it's the parents' fault, but the parents are in the same position. We're all in the same position as the children. So instead of saying that it's the parents' fault, I would say to anyone that if you don't have any kids yet, wait until you're married. Wait until you're established to have children. Now, that's what I would say. Don't bring any kids into the world when you're still a victim yourself. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people they don't like for black men to say, oh, we victims, we're victims. What do you want to call it? What do you want to call it? Black men and women. We're sitting ducks out here. And we bringing babies into this world, and they become sitting ducks. But the thing is, that frontal lobe, your cerebral cortex, hasn't grown. It don't grow until you're like 25, 26 years old. So these kids really don't care about too much of anything. They don't see the world the same way we see the world. When they out here committing these crimes and they doing a bunch of foolery, everything is just fun to them. You know what I mean? Even for some of these adults still, stuff is just fun for them. A person that is 18, they go out and commit a senseless act, a murder or something like that, and they get, they go to jail at 18. By the time they're 30 years old, sitting behind them bars, they're like, damn, what the fuck did I do? How did I end up here? Can't believe I did the shit that I did when I was that young. I was stupid. Yeah. We got to start teaching them about that. We got to start teaching them about the things we put in our system as far as food, these restaurants, these neighborhood, everything plays a part, especially in the inner city, because it's designed for us to stay here. Like, these are just hot spots where people, store owners, business owners, just to make money, take your money and leave. They don't care. So we got to start caring and looking at the whole situation, the technology, the freedom that we get these kids, society, what they did to these schools. Yo, it's crazy. It's deep, man. Where these kids are going to go once they leave school, or once they leave out them doors, or after they finish school. Let's say they don't want to go to college. Most, back in the day, parents and stuff, they used to say, well, you got to go to the military or you got to get a job. You know what I mean? You got to do something. And so in a way, I believe that, you know what I'm saying? You got to do something, but let's give them a head start and let's help them understand the possibilities of the things they could do. Because some kid, if you don't push that on a kid, or you don't put that in their mind, they become like, okay, I finished school, now what? They don't know how to earn money. They have no direction. That's when they become lazy. They pick up the joystick and sitting in your house all day playing a game until they fucking 24, 25 years old. In some cases, 30 years old. Some cases, 40 years old. They just sitting there smoking weed and just playing video games. And that's what happens. You know what I mean? Whose fault is it? I don't know. But let's just stop blaming the parents so much. Let's stop blaming the parents so much, man. We all responsible. We all failed these kids. And that's all I'm going to say, man. It's the longest video I ever did, man. But I tried to hit all points as much as I could. But if I didn't, y'all want to interject, please leave a comment in the comment box, man. This is Woke and Ready TV. Like this video, subscribe to this channel.